I'm also going to get a backup going because Craig sometimes does not want to work.
Gotcha.
So, get that. Start recording. Okay, cool. So that's going. Alrighty. So, we've got a lot to talk about. It's Ratchet and Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal.
Yep.
Yeah. So, just as like a baseline, when did you first get into speedrunning?
Yeah, I actually first got into speedrunning with this game back in late 2012, December 2012. It's actually just past my 9th anniversary. Yeah, no. I was just interested in doing speedruns. I found speedruns live probably summer 2012, and I was watching, people like I Ate Your Pie playing Paper Mario. And I was just playing Ratchet and Clank like since I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was kind of already doing speedrunning, but very casually at that time. I was basically like playing through the game without a memory card, trying to beat it 100% in a day. And I'd turn off my console if I didn't get all the way, and I just restart the next weekend, whatever. That was my way of speedrunning. And I eventually found Speed Demos Archive. I found it like a couple times, but I didn't really watch anything. The only thing I did watch was Cannibal Canine's Up Your Arsenal run, which was like 2 hours, 20 something minutes.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think I was just bored one day and I decided I wanted to try and beat it. So like I didn't have a timer or anything. I just used like this Casio watch, and I played through any percent. And I mean, I think I ended up getting like 2:11 or something like that, which would have been a world record at the time. But then I had decided to check on YouTube just to see if there were any updated runs, and that's how I found Zem. I found his like 150 or 140 or something like that, and yeah, I just kind of watched through that. And I mean, like once I saw his stuff, I pretty much just started taking it seriously. This was around like the December to late 2012 when I started.
I get you.
Yeah, actually doing the Casio timer runs and all that. That's basically where I say I started seriously speedrunning. But I mean, I guess I've been going back for like several years if you count the casual, just no memory card runs.
I get you.
Yeah.
Did you the Cannibal Canine run? Do you think that like influenced you, or did you watch it and take notes, or like I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that run?
Yeah. I just kind of watched through how he played the game. He played through it mostly casually. He didn't really do too many skips. Like the only thing off the top of my head was this one thing on Dax where he like skipped a little shortcut with getting to the warship. That was the only notable thing. And also the way he did the boss, I think he used the flux rifle. Can't quite remember. Yeah, those were the only things I really, stuck in my mind. Other than that, I think it was just kind of casual. And I remember when I was starting out, I also pretty much did casual runs, did it as fast as possible, and yeah, it just took 2 hours. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to word this correctly. So if you kind of felt like you were doing stuff casually and Kanan was doing stuff casually, was Zem sort of doing other tricks, or
Yeah.
he seemed to be ahead by 20-ish minutes, right? Sounds like he was doing something different.
Yeah, I think he did a bit more research on some skips and stuff. There was a glitch scene, out there at the time. They weren't really serious like speedrunners, but they did do some speedruns like NG Plus and whatever. But it was all segmented at the time, right? There was no RTA really. But they were doing some like more advanced stuff, like they were doing Ghost Ratchet or whatever, and they were skipping through like Marcadia. If you get Ghost Ratchet, you can go through walls. I think I ended up finding that out myself, like independently by accident. But I think Zem was doing it in his runs at the time, and so small skips like that were what saved a big chunk of his 20 minutes. And I think when I found his run and I saw what he was doing, I started doing my own research on the glitch scene, and I saw Iridia skip, which is something that I ended up commenting on one of his videos. And that's how he learned it, actually. He learned about Iridia skip from me. I could actually give you the link to the comment if you really want. But yeah, I know. Watching Zem is like really how I started, figuring out that there was more to this game than just like playing through it casually. And yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, Zem played for just a little bit, and then he kind of left. I think it was sort of in 2013. He kind of put
Yeah.
it down for a while,
Yeah.
but you kept going, right?
Yeah, yeah. We were playing around the same time for a few months. Like, I think around like until April 2013. We had a bit of like a YouTube personal message thread back when they had that. We
Hmm.
had that going on. I was just like giving him updates. This is back before I recorded any like speedruns or anything. But yeah, I was playing and I kind of just told him, the times that I was getting, and he could probably attest to it. I was getting like 140s and 130s eventually, which was just blowing his PBs out of the water essentially. Yeah, no, I pretty much just took everything that he did and did all those tricks and just kind of like optimized the movement a little bit. I found a few of my own skips. I think I have YouTube videos up there on some of that stuff, like Florana or whatever. Um, yeah, no, it was just for a couple months that we were speedrunning at the same time, and then he was in college. I was in elementary school actually.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This I started late 2012. I was 13 years old, right? So
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been 9 years. I'm 22 now, so it's been pretty much just a part of my childhood. But yeah, no, he was already a grown man in college.
The way you put that just makes it really funny.
It's funny too because I was just destroying him. Yeah, but nah, yeah, I think he was just busy with school, which is why he stopped.
Yeah.
He was finishing up college. I had all the time on my hands, so I was just getting better. And yeah, he kind of disappeared until I think late 2013 or even 2014. I can't quite remember.
Hmm.
Around mid 2014, and I think he came back maybe late 2014. Yeah, yeah. But between mid 2013 and late 2014, it was pretty much just me playing Up Your Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something that someone brought up to me the other day was it seems like a lot of the runs are all any percent, but there's not a lot of NG plus stuff.
Yeah.
I think Scotto said there's an infamous comment by Zem that says like NG plus is essentially cheating or something like that. Does that
Yeah.
does that
I
sound
think
familiar?
I vaguely recall something like that. I'm not like 100% sure if it's just my mind playing tricks, but I think that is true somewhere. Again, you'd have to either get Zem or someone else to find the comment. But I do think
Mhm.
he did say that. It does like kind of reflect the mood, I guess, on around NG Plus, which was just that it wasn't very competitive. No one played it because like it was just an easier version of any percent, right? Like you had all the
Mm,
weapons, you had the armor and everything, and you had the charge boots. You just charged throughout all the levels, so it wasn't very interesting.
gotcha.
We didn't really bother to optimize like the run or whatever. It was just like I think we were more focused basically on finding skips without having the charge boots around and whatnot, and using like mini turrets. You could clip with the mega turrets. We knew that, and it was a lot easier. Um, but aside from like doing a couple easier clips and just charging everywhere, there wasn't really much difference between the two categories.
Okay.
So like that in combination with like less competition, like virtually nobody was playing the game, and all the runs that did exist were any percent runs. So just by that virtue, it was the more prestigious category. So like NG Plus was neglected for a very very long time, pretty much until like Silence is found.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. That answers all my questions.
So
Um, One question I did just out of curiosity was, were you involved with like the multiplayer scene at all? I imagine that you had played it when it first came out.
I was not. Yeah, this is something that people keep asking me, like if I was in the multiplayer scene. I wasn't. I only ever played multiplayer locally with my brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nah, the only multiplayer stuff that like I never actually like played online. I was only like watching people do like their little lag jump, cool movement videos online, like
Yeah.
way back in like 2006, seven, whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I mean like that's kind of how I learned most of the movement for any percent with the lag jumps and all that. It's funny because I watched those NG Plus videos and we never really implemented lag jumping or whatever until like after Silence. I think we just didn't care that much. Like it was known, it was definitely known before Silence, but we just didn't implement it into the category.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's just because I only ever did like a couple of runs of that category. Just tried to get like sub 1. It's just some arbitrary goal,
Mhm.
and then move on. But yeah, it could have been pushed further, but like I don't think it would have been nearly as far as it did. Like as far as it got as quickly, if it weren't for Silence, it would have still been like around 50 something minutes for quite a long time, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to ask was I know that I think I went through your YouTube and I found you had mentioned something about lag flips or lag jumps, and I was like, okay, does he know? Has he played? I'm just curious what your connection was.
Yeah, I think that video was essentially the demonstrating that you could do lag jumps without the charge boots.
Hmm.
Because in multiplayer you don't have Clank, right? And
Yeah.
then in any percent you have Clank, but you don't have the charge boots until Dax. And so the idea was that you could still do this kind of tech without the charge boots, out of your thruster pack movement or whatever. And that would be what we would use for a lot of the early game movement, which is, I think, if you were to look back at the difference between me and Zem, although I guess yeah, you could watch my one video. Like there's not too many recordings of my
Yeah.
old runs, but there is that 133, which wasn't actually my PB at the time. I was just doing it for proof. I actually had like a 127, but I mean, if you compare that to his 140 or whatever, I think I make a decent chunk of time on him just on the thruster pack movement before the charge boots.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
you could compare those runs.
There you go. Fun fact: I'm actually trying to learn how to do lag flips. Like, so the last couple of days, I've been going into multiplayer and just like charging off of hills and like doing hyper strikes and then lag flips. It's kind of fun. It's
Yeah,
harder than it looks.
it is weird. It's like it's a different timing in multiplayer, I think, compared to single player. Like
Mm.
multiplayer, I think you have to do it slightly earlier, whereas
Yes.
in single player is like right as you touch the ground. And it's yeah, in Up Your Arsenal, I think there's less. There's like what is it? What's the word? A smaller time frame for you to actually do the inputs compared to like Rack 1 or Rack 2. Because I
Mm.
switch between Rack 2 and Ouya quite often. And like every time I come back to Ouya and I try doing like lag jumps and everything, it's just like, why is it so much more precise? So yeah, I mean, after a while, it just becomes natural.
Indeed, indeed.
Hmm.
So I know that it's pretty much just you. I think for most of 2013.
Yeah,
I'm curious, when do people like? There's kind of like the chillest boys, right? That's the old boy group.
yeah.
But there's a lot of names that show up eventually. I think around 2014, but like names like Cypress, Vortex, Slaughter. Those are people that kind of show up later. What do you know roughly when they or Nuka? Do you know roughly when they started showing up?
Yeah, so Mitch, who Slaughter, he invited me to the Chills Boys in mid 2014. He sent me a Twitch message,
Mm.
and that's how I discovered those guys. Him and Cypress were already in the group. Vortex joined a little bit later, and Nuka as well. I don't know exactly when, but I think it was all in 2014. We were just like a couple months apart. And again, Zem, I added him to the Chills Boys, I think around like 2014. Um, yeah, none of those guys played Up Your Arsenal though. But I mean, we just kind of that was essentially the old group. Everyone who's still active in the days. There was a few more people in the Ratchet community at that time, but they were just kind of in the Skype group. They weren't really talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main active dudes were Mitch, Sippy, Vortex, myself, Devin, and then a couple other guys would show up later, like Skrit and Skits. And yeah, I mean, like those guys are essentially the Chills Boys, and yeah, it really is just a spin-off of that old group. We've just been around for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, we remain friends despite most of them kind of moving on from speedrunning. Some of them speedrun different games now. Some of them just they've just moved on to a different phase in life. But I mean, we're still all friends, so we just keep it as like our own group. We decided to not. There's this thing about the Chills Boys, like being some sort of speedrunning cabal, like ruling over the Ratchet community. And it's just, I don't know, I find it like a fun meme. But yeah, most
Mm-hmm.
of the guys, they don't even, they still keep in touch. Like they still like look at the most recent times or whatever and see what's going on. But like didn't really participate as much as they used to.
I get you.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I need some clarification on is, so whenever Silence put out his segmented run, it was like, I think February something, 24th, 25th of 2014. Cypress had a comment on that video the day of. And I'm curious, when did you guys first find Silence? And like, do you know like the date specifically? Because that's one of the things that I don't really fully understand.
That's weird. You say Cypress had a comment the day of Silence's segmented run?
No, it's not a segmented run. It was
Single segment or
single segment run. Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
I misspoke.
Yeah. We found Silence back when he just had a segmented run. I think it was the 4158. And that was, I can't even remember the time. It was around sometime in 2014. Devin found him, Nuka. Yeah, the story was that he just searched up Ratchet and Clank 3 or something in Japanese on YouTube just to see what he would find, and he found that. And I mean, yeah, that's essentially it. Silence had his 4158 there, and we watched through that, and I was just mind blown about like the skips that he was doing, especially like the tech, the charge boot tech with whip jumps and how he used that to get to VR early. That skipped like 2 whole planets. So that was like, yeah, it was mind boggling, and it just like changed the meta for NG Plus for pretty much, permanently. Now we're all about doing charge boot tech and neutral long jumps and all that stuff. So like, I mean, I think it was early 2014 that he found him. And yeah, the idea, like the reason why we were commenting on his videos was that because we were only allowing RTA on the leaderboards, right? So if we did allow a single segment, then I wouldn't have had an NG Plus record to my name. It would have just been Silent, because I think I did my runs around maybe like roughly like a week early, or I think actually no, that was a week before his single segment run. But he did a segmented before like I did any NG Plus runs, and yeah, I mean his times were just blowing mine out of the water, obviously. And yeah, but he couldn't be on the board because it was segmented. So we asked him if he could do a single segment, and that's where I think he started, doing speedrunning, and he kept playing until he got like sub 40, and for a while he was just like the best. He was the one who knew all the tech and all that, and I kind of like learned how to do it from scratch, obviously, because there's a language barrier there. I can't really ask him, but yeah, eventually I figured it out, and yeah, ever since then, we've just kind of like taken over. I think after Zem passed Silence, and I think I passed him as well. There was a comment somewhere about, I think Foas mentioned it, and Silence was just saying like, we're too good now, or something like that. Like he wouldn't come back to speedrunning, something like that, which is sad. But yeah, it is what it is. And I think he's just kind of moved on from Ratchet, or at least Ratchet speedrunning.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, we kind of moved through Silence pretty quickly, so I want to sort of dig into a little bit. So I guess, what was your own personal experience of like, I think you had done a run February 15th, like 10 days or something before Silence's 42 RTA run.
Yeah.
Did you know about his stuff at the time? Like, did you try to implement his stuff, or was that literally just like, I'm just going to do a run and record it and time it?
Yeah. If it was like an hour long run, it's probably just one of those ones where it was like, all right, let me record something, get something on the board. Because essentially it was like there was no one else really doing runs. It was just me, and I just wanted to get some time on there. And I think like if you watch through some of my runs like a few weeks later, it goes down to like a 45 or something like that. And you can obviously tell, that's when we discovered Silence. So yeah, I would say like that run just a few days before, that could actually probably be a nice way to pinpoint like around the time that we did discover Silence. It's probably between that run and then my next run. It's somewhere in that few weeks we found out something, which is yeah.
Okay. But then you try to like, he was doing runs from I think February to July, right?
Right.
were you sort of like watching every one of them and trying to dissect what he was doing, or did you kind of had a gist of the idea of like after the first one?
Yeah, I think I just mostly watched the first one. I kind of maybe skipped through the second one just to see what he did better or any new skips. There's yeah, maybe there was like a few new things that he added, but otherwise it was mostly the same stuff. And so it was mostly just me trying to learn the tech, trying to learn whip jumps, and just trying to go faster.
Yeah,
Um,
did you have like a technique to do that? Like, did you just watch his runs and advance like frame by frame, and be like, what is he doing here? Okay, and then here. I'm just curious how, because that's not easy. Like looking at something and just being like, I bet he does it like this, and then just doing it. Like, how did you find out?
well, I mean, the whole thing was just to try to get the understand what the trick was, like how to do the trick, right? So whip
Hmm.
jumps. It was mostly me just playing around. Yeah, I was just like charge and then press circle a bunch and then see if I throw my whip. And I don't know. I guess I figured out for some reason that you need to hold L1 while pressing circle, and then yeah, once I got that down, I mean, I was like, okay, that's essentially it. Like, yeah, I can do the VR skip now. I know how to clip through already.
Hmm.
Um, Terra jumping was also like a similar, just kind of experimenting, seeing what he did. I think that one was a little bit more straightforward, right? He just kind of changes out of the Terra guys as he jumps, and he swings
Hmm.
his wrench. I mean, yeah, no, it was really just kind of like looking at what he did. No like frame by frame thing. um, yeah, I just relearned it like that.
Okay. Um, and it's funny that Nuka would find it because I think like at that time nobody else was running it. So it's like he found a run for your game. Did they have any thoughts or did they follow Silence's sort of progression over the next couple months? Or was it mostly just like, wow, that's crazy. You got a lot to work on. Have fun.
Yeah, he found it and then he just posted it in the Rack Skype group because we were using Skype at the time.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, and then I think after that, most of the other community members there just kind of took over. I don't know if Foas was in the community, but yeah, he was commenting a lot on Silence, and we just kind of like watched over him. And he did have a bunch of like glitch videos that we all like kind of investigated. I did definitely did a lot of looking through that just to see if I could find any new techniques to use. Um, but yeah, I think it was mostly just he found it, and then everyone else just kind of took it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I think after he finished with his 37:27, I think is what his time was. I think you eventually got
Uh,
yours down to a 39.
Yeah, I think it was a 3746. We were using RTA time, like we didn't cut out the first few
Okay.
loads. Yeah, it might have changed now that we changed that rule, but yeah.
Gotcha. I'll update that because I remember thinking, I don't remember it being 27, but yeah.
I think
I
this thing
think
is titled 3746, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you are correct. I will have to look into that though.
Yeah, that's the first thing that shows up if you type his name. That's a speed run.
Hmm.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Um, So I talking to Zem, it sounds like there was kind of like an arms race, right? Like it was like both of you were like, we want to be the one to beat Silence's time. Does that sound right? Or what were your thoughts? Um,
Yeah.
was that a
To
goal for
beat
you?
it was, yeah. I definitely did want to beat Silence, and I think I stopped once I got sub 40. I think I was like content with that for now. And I moved on to like Rack 2 because I was playing no IMG and stuff like that. And Zem came back around that same time, and yeah, he started taking up NG plus, and yeah, it didn't take him very long to get to like top level. Like he was around the 40-minute mark, 45-minute mark, for a little bit, which is where I was just like a few weeks back. And then like yeah, he just improved really quickly, and yeah, he soon overtook me and just overtook Silence. And I think from there, it's just like we kind of knew he was going to be like the best for a while. And I would try to like take the crown because I never beat Silence, and so I hadn't been first for like a long, long time. So I wanted to try to eventually beat him. And the two of us just kind of pushed the game down like really far. We pushed it down to about a 32. I think once Zem got a 31, things started to slow down a bit. But for quite a while, we were just like going back and forth. I was finding new tricks or whatever, new strategies, and he was copying me. And so like there was a bit of an arms to like be better, and we were like, I don't know if we were ever hiding strats or anything like that, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of competition around that time for NG Plus. That was probably one of the most competitive times for the scene until like recently, probably I would say.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like, because he's I feel like he's so much farther ahead,
Yeah, yeah.
or he was for a while.
He was, yeah. Until like Tarna and Wiffle came by, and yeah, now it's actually more competitive than it's been in a long, long time. But I mean, yeah, back then it was mostly just me and him, and Squonk showed up for a little bit, and yeah, he was a really good runner. I think he was top 3. He might have been even top 2 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah, until like the 32, 31. After that, yeah, because Zem kept pushing, and I moved on to like Rap One and stuff like that because I had that game as well. But yeah, he just kept pushing Uyanji Plus just by himself, and that's kind of where he just became like dominant. No one else could touch him. There was other people who came, like Tarna was challenging him at that time as well, and then Ninja Ratchet. But yeah, they just like never overtook him. He just anytime they would get close, he would like come back. Like he'd be playing other games, and then they get close, and he'd just come back to Uyanji Plus and improve his time. And that's why he seemed like so unbeatable for like the longest while.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like a particular approach or mentality when you're speedrunning Ouya?
Speedrunning Ouya, I mean, I've been speedrunning Ouya since like 2017. Ever since PS2 became faster, I've been speedrunning Ouya really. But speedrunning in general, yeah, my mindset has changed over the years. I think when I was younger and like pretty much back when I was competing with Zem, I really, really wanted like world record, and I wouldn't settle for anything else. But I realized like around that time too, when I was competing with Zem, I did have a few paces where I was just on track to beat him, but I choked it, and I was just getting really upset. And I think like my mindset just kind of shifted away from just wanting world record all the time and just like improving myself instead. Focusing on getting like a good time, because world record doesn't really mean the run is actually good. So I think yeah, it's kind of changed now to the point where it's like, I don't really care if my run is world record or not. I just care if I think it's good. Like it could be third place, and I think it's a good time for my skill, or it could be world record, and I think like I can still improve this by like 5 minutes. I'm just gonna keep playing. Yeah. I think about it a little bit less now, like in terms of where I am on the leaderboard, and more just about improving myself and pushing myself to my limit. And yeah, I think that was my one major shift. Other than that, I've been playing and learning games like the same way. I think maybe I have more experience now doing it because I've been doing it for so long. But the mindset, yeah, has been pretty much the same since then.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
In his HDQ 2016 run, Zem described you as the sock folder of Ouya, which I think is high praise. But what were some of the experiments you did around that time, or what were some of the big findings that you had?
Man, I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice because I just don't remember very much.
It's a long time ago.
I did do like a lot. If you go through my Twitch, I have a whole bunch of like random things that I found. I found like a quado skip. I think I found it independently. Like it might have been known by one of those glitch hunters back in the day, but I found that like in my dream. I was dreaming of one time, and like I clipped through the floor in a quado. So if you look through the old any percent runs, that's one of the things that we do. I don't know why. Yeah, it came into my mind to just like go under on the floor and then crouch for a while and just see what happens. But yeah, that's how I just kind of like came up with that idea, and that's how we figured that one out. Everything else has really just been like, it's just like, what if I do this? I think that's how most skips are found, is just like kind of thinking outside the box and like doing something that no one else would think of, not even like the game devs. Yeah, that's how I found most of my skips. Like was it VidComic 2 skip, or just VidComic whatever skip, where you go into the password menu, and then like you press X to kind of make that skip prompt show up if you're like any percent of you and you've already finished a
Mhm.
comic, and you go back to it and you press X, you get this prompt to like skip the comic if you want to. And usually for you have to complete the VidComics in order. And so like if you go into like VidComic 4 and you haven't done VidComic 3 yet, you would see that it says, okay, complete the previous VidComic before doing this one. And like you'd have to do them all in order that way, right?
Mhm.
And if you go into the the VidComic menu, like that's the first thing that shows up. Like it highlights on VidComic 4, I believe. Um, and so I don't know, it just like popped up in my mind. I wonder if I like try to make the skip comic prompt show up while highlighted under that comic. And I thought about how to get that kind of state with the thing showing up in the comic highlighted, like the comic 4. And I don't know, I just came up with like going into the password menu and whatever. Like it was weird. I don't know. I just think of these random ideas and like I try them out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Mhm.
And the times that it does, it's just like it's crazy. It's brilliant. But yeah, I don't know. I won't say like I wouldn't give myself too much praise just because I'm more like I try to be modest with my
Yeah, I
findings.
get you. You're too
Yeah, yeah.
humble. I get you.
I'm humble. Yeah. No, but like those are just a couple of the things that I did. I mean, most of I've just found a bunch of small things I really like. I think maybe when Sem talks about me being sock folder or whatever, it's more like he would understand more than most people like the stuff that I found. It's mostly just like a bunch of small optimizations. And
Mhm.
I mean, given how like I think he took a lot of my tech back when we were competing in Ouya, like he kind of just found a whole bunch of the small things that I discovered.
Mhm.
And like yeah, they're very insignificant. Like I can't come up with them in my head. Like I just mentioned to you like the two biggest things. The other thing would
Yeah.
probably be VidComic skip or not VidComic VR skip in any percent. I found that as well, and that was like a series of different things, clipping out of Starship Phoenix without like a mini turret,
Mhm.
and yeah, finding Terra guys IJs. I did that as well. I think we call it Terra jumps now. Um, yeah, I don't know if people mistake silence for finding that, but he didn't. I actually found that, and it's more of an extension again out of like what silence did. He found like the initial tier jump where you start out in the tier guys on the floor, and then you know press X and square, and you could get like a boosted jump essentially. And
Mhm.
I kind of just did that, but you know extended it into like doing it in midair, just like going double jumping and then changing into the tier guys and changing back at the same time, and in such a way that you don't lose any height if you like hyper strike at the right time. And that essentially became what IJs were. We knew about IJs from Rack 1, and I just thought, what if I could do it in Ouya using this? And so that's how I discovered that. And then I also discovered the IJs in Rack 2, which we don't really use, at least in RTA, because it's just way too hard. But essentially, you just press circle and square in first person, and you can essentially do like the little boost that you get when you do first person wall climb. Usually we do it on in a wall, right? Because you
Mhm.
want your wrench to like come back to you quickly, so that you can keep boosting upwards.
Right.
Let's say you know, like if you're not close to a wall, your wrench just goes forward, and then you know by the time it gets back to you, you're back on the ground, right?
Mhm.
And so my thought process there was just like, you know, what could I do to like kind of cancel the wrench throwing animation? And my idea was to pull out a weapon in such a way that like you get the boost, but you know you can throw your wrench again, and it is actually possible, and that's how I found it out. But like it's frame perfect, so we don't do it in RTA, but like it is a thing, and again it's a
Mhm.
thing that I discovered. So those are I guess my findings there. You know, take it as you know if it's uh smart or whatever. I don't know. It's
I
just
get you.
like
Yeah.
it's on my resume, and yeah, I guess I am proud. You know, there is like it is interesting in Ratchet speedrunning. Like there's as much praise I think that goes around to people who find major skips as there are people who make like you know who do like good runs. Like if you think about lesser known runners like Haniwa or whatever, he's a Japanese runner who you know he doesn't have like a top Ouya entry plus time, but his run he did a lot of different things. Like he made big use of insta whips and stuff like that,
Mhm.
proxying off like with turrets. Like this is stuff that we never really did in our old runs, and despite him not having a top time, other runners would learn from his strategies and would implement it into their own runs, and that would shave off like 30-40 seconds on the record, like after implementing all of his strats. So like he gets as much praise as like people like Zam. Well, I don't know if people like Zam, but at least like top 2, top 3 runners. Like he's one of those significant names, even though he's not a top 2, top 3 runner himself, right? So there is like a lot of I guess significance around people who find like important skips. So yeah, I guess it is something to be proud of. Being both a decent runner and someone who found a lot of important things. I guess. Yeah, it's just like it just kind of puts me there as like I did a lot for this community, and so I guess that's why people praise me so highly.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think that what's funny is that I talked to Wiffle. I forget if Tarna mentioned it, but I talked to Wiffle about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it wasn't like a super serious submission, but it was like more of a work of art than it was a speed run, And I was and it's like, damn, that's high praise to be like, man, this guy maybe it wasn't the fastest run, but he like changed the game." And someone coming from Wiffle, who I think didn't have the record anymore at the time. I think Tarna had taken it back, but Wiffle is very much like, yeah, like I respect that guy a lot. So
he said that about
it's
me,
very clear. No, he said about Haniwa specifically.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry, I don't think maybe I wasn't clear on that one.
Yeah. I mean, that just shows you there. Yeah, they definitely praise people who do different things, and yeah.
Also, one last comment would be that the fact that you're putting in work while you're asleep, you're dreaming about the run and speed runs and tricks and stuff. I think that's really funny and goes to show how much you care about the game.
Yeah, no, it was a big part of my childhood. I was just speedrunning all the time. It was one of my main hobbies. So yeah. Ugh.
All right, let's see here. I got a couple last questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Zem held the record for like 5 or 6 consecutive years, always keeping the crown just out of reach for everybody. What was your experience like your own personal experience? Because I think there was at least one point where you got really, really close, but I'm just curious what your perspective is.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it before that there was a time when we were pretty close. I think this was back when the record was around 33 or something, or 32. Yeah, and I had several runs where I was like, 30 seconds. I don't know if it was 30 seconds, but I was at least like in the double digits in seconds ahead of like world record. And I don't know, there were just like a few blockers, and this is back when I was still I would say a relatively new runner. Like this is maybe 2015, 2016, something around there. And yeah, I don't know. There was scrunchless, if you know that. That's also another trick that I found, by the way, scrunchless.
Nice. That's a trick I've heard about, but I don't know where and when it was found.
Yeah, I don't quite remember either. You could I do have the VOD on Twitch. Scrunchless with like a 3 O's for a surprised face.
Yeah. Did you do it on like a marathon or something? Or
I did. There was like the PS2 marathon, which I had like just like go watch this on the side there. And I was just messing around looking for strats, and I was like, there's got to be a way to skip scrunch here. And I just rode the rail. I finally like got to the other side, and that became scrunchless. And it was
you found that on stream or whatever?
I didn't find that on the marathon. I was just streaming while the marathon was going.
Gotcha.
I wasn't actually a part of the marathon. But I think this is back when the Ratchet community was small, right? So like any exposure that we got, it was like a big thing. So I was like, oh, yeah, there was maybe a Ratchet run going on, or something. Just go watch that marathon instead. Yeah, so I had that advertised, but I was just messing around looking for strats. And
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was just like a pretty self-explanatory. You just ride the rail, and I mean, like it's harder than it looks. I think nowadays most people have it down pretty consistently, but like when you're first learning strat, it's pretty difficult. Yeah, that killed a lot of my runs. Like I was on world record pace, and I wasn't very consistent at it, but I'd go for it because they would save like 20 seconds or something like that. Yeah, and I'd mess it up like half the time, and that would kill my run. The few
Man.
times that I would get past it, I'd be like super nervous. And yeah, I think there was like 2 or 3 runs where I was on record pace and I got past Scrunchless, and then the run would just die like the next planet or two because I was just way too nervous.
Mhm.
I mean, the game is brutal. I'm pretty sure Zen would tell you like it was one of the most unforgiving games, and it still probably is. I think you could still argue that RNG Plus is the most unforgiving category in Ratchet speedrunning, just because the tech is it's brutal and like frame perfect, and there's a lot of things that you have to do now, like even more than back then with all the proxies and all that, all the insta
Mhm.
whips. Yeah, yeah, no, it is and like the stuff that they're implementing now with the Traco double charge, triple charge, whatever. Like those
Mhm.
midair charges are also frame perfect. Nah, like it's one of the craziest things. It's one of the craziest runs. And if I were to come back, I would not have as fun of a time as I did back in 2015. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
I imagine not.
yeah, no. So Zen being as good as he has been at the category for as long as he has is just again more praise to him. It's one of the most difficult things.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you keep a close eye on things now? Like, do you pay attention to the current stuff?
I pay attention to the strats a little bit, not so much anymore. I just kind of I don't know. I look at like tech mostly, not so much like implementations of like where in the run. I actually haven't watched like a full Uyo run in quite a while,
Okay.
but yeah, like I know about insta whips and I know about all that stuff and some of the more interesting skips like epic, like trying to like make that consistent is something that I did for maybe like 15 minutes and then I realized okay, maybe it's just not worth going for. Yeah, there's already enough difficult stuff, and then I mean, like if someone could figure it out, that'd be amazing. Like, essentially, the idea would be to get the mini turret to like do proxy, but I think like I don't know, I don't want to like say anything that's false, but like you got to do it at the end of your charge, which it's essentially like doing a midair, but I mean, there's no method for doing a midair charge with a proxy. So it's like you literally just have like 1 or 2 frames to I don't even think it's 2 frames. I think you have 1 frame to throw your turret out, and you got to do that twice, I think. And so
Jeez.
yeah, no, it's just not worth it.
I hear
I tried doing the proxy for like 15 minutes, never got it, and then I was like, "Okay, I don't even play this game. Why am I bothering?" So
you. Yeah. It's too hard, man. You gotta move on.
yeah, so I don't know. I keep like one eye on it, but at the same time, it's just like I don't play the game, so I'm not as attentive as I used to be. I used to be like on that all the time, but
Mhm.
yeah, I did get a PS3 recently, so I
Ooh.
might come back and might start looking at these runs again. But
Update that PB.
yeah, at least update the PB maybe. I don't know. No promises. I feel like if I did come back, I would want to get a top time, like sub 29 or something like that. But yeah, no guarantees.
There you go. Do you think that the difficulty is what keeps the game from, how do I say this? Like, I feel like there's only 4 or 5 people who are really in contention for the record. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, there's really not a lot of people at the upper echelon. And I'm curious if you think that it's just the game's difficulty, or why do you think that it is that way?
Yeah, I think it would be the difficulty. Like, if you want to get a top time, you have to be really dedicated to playing and learning and resetting a bunch because, yeah, things are just extremely hard. Like, Wiffle has been, I don't know if you've seen his run count. I don't know what he's at, like 15,000 runs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the dude is a machine. Tarna, I don't know. He's been grinding for years as well, and Sem, obviously. Like, yeah, all of the guys who have top times nowadays, they've just been speedrunning this game for several years. And so, like, if you want to be a top runner, you really got to put in the work. And I don't know. I guess it's a double-edged sword. Like, it is really cool to see these guys just push the game as far as they have, and come up with these insane runs. But at the same time, it's like, how much new competition is there going to be? Like, people are getting so crazy, it might become daunting. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the same thing is happening with the Rack 2 with Fear. Like, Fear is implementing a bunch of like really, really difficult strats, and like only he's doing it, no one else is doing it. And I don't know. It might get to the same fate, but I guess I don't know. I consider it like a cool thing. I guess like having a high skill ceiling in the game. At the very least, it keeps it like it makes the longevity. I think kind of like a little bit better.
Mhm.
If there was a low skill ceiling, the game is like maxed out or essentially maxed out until something new is found. I mean, that wouldn't be as fun, right? So
No, I hear you. I hear you.
yeah, I guess the difficulty of the game, like, yeah, it keeps the competitors maybe like the number of it like low, but the improvement is always there. There's always room for improvement, especially with these games. So yeah, it's a pro and a con at the same time.
Okay. The last question is you kind of mentioned a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to wrap it up and give you a chance to sort of formulate. Um, but you've been described by multiple people as one of the best to ever do it. And how does that make you feel, and what kind of legacy have you left? Oh,
I will answer that question in like 3 seconds. Sorry.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, the question was people describe me, or do people describe me as one of the best to ever do it?
Mm-hmm. And then how does that make you feel, and what kind of legacy have you left?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes me feel good. I consider myself like one of the best. I don't know if like people think I'm overrated, underrated, or whatever. But yeah, I've just been here for so long, and I've had several good times in different good Ratchet categories. Like, I wouldn't even consider myself. I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself like one of the best. I guess like significant in Ouya, obviously with the time that I played, the fact that it was my first game, and I found a lot of strats in there. But
Mm-hmm.
like just Ratchet in general, like I speedrun Rack 2, I speedran Rack 1, I played Size Matters. I want to play like Nexus and whatever. This is the only community really that like I spend time in. Like I actually like go through the Discord. Like I'm part of the Jack Discord, but I'm just kind of like lurking there.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really played like I speedrun, I don't know, Sudoku, whatever, but it's like a bunch of meme games basically. Like this is the
Yeah.
only game that I really take seriously.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I don't know. I guess like all the work that I've put in, it's essentially like my legacy now. I'm glad that it's like good, I guess, because some people, I don't know, they come and go. You've had really good runners like Scaff or whatever, and like despite being really good for their time, they weren't around as long, and so longevity is like the one thing that I have over the majority of runners nowadays. And as long as I stay active, I'll have that over like pretty much all of them, right?
Yeah.
It's me, Zam, and like Ricky. We've been speedrunning since like late 2012, early 2013, maybe even earlier for them. But yeah, no, I've been playing for a long, long time, and I try to stay like top level. I don't know how long I'll be at the top four, but as long as I'm competitive, like I'm happy with that. And yeah, I don't know. I guess being considered one of the best is really nice. I think back when I was younger, I wanted to be the best at something. Like this is back when I had that old mindset. I was like, I wanted to be the best at like speedrunning because just to have that up to my name, like I'm the best at something in the world. Like who could say that really,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was my old mindset, and then I guess like having that experience and just like knowing something that well, you don't even have to keep playing. You just like have to. You don't have to keep playing like actively. Like I was in school for a long, long time, but I can come back and still be like pretty competitive at a top level. And so I've just kind of remained there. I've kind of just been there for the whole time. And yeah, I don't know. I guess having that like it never really goes away that you want to be the best at something. Um, so for them to like say that is feels good, and I'm glad I get the recognition. I don't know. Uh, this like Zem and whatever. I would consider Zem better than me because he's been around for like the same time, and I don't know that time span between like 2015, 2018, whatever his Bob project, and he got records in like literally everything,
Mm-hmm.
and just like the amount of stuff that he's done. Like I don't think you could really say that this guy isn't the best. Like there's just too much to argue in his favor, and I think we would maybe like seriously do a an all time list of just like greatest Ratchet runners over every category game. It would be interesting to see. I think Zen would be on top. I'd be interested to see like where they would put me. Maybe like top 5. I don't know exactly where, but
That seems fair to me.
yeah, no, just being considered top 5. To me, I'm pretty happy with that. I would like to be higher. I mean, you always want to be better, but heck, I'll take it.
There you go. All right. Is there anything that I haven't talked about that you think that we need to add in, or do you think we're pretty good?
Yeah. Let me think. This is for Ouya NG Plus, so I just want to make sure it's relevant. I don't know. I don't know what other people have talked about, really. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, but again, because I'm not really as knowledgeable about new stuff, I can't really say, to the same degree of just like detail, like some
get
newer
you.
things. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you've covered that with like Tarna or Wiffle.
I've talked to both of them, yeah. So I've got a bit more on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the old stuff, there's not really much to it. I mean, I guess like it was just me. There were like a couple other ones, but they were just like not as good. Like there was Unoriginal and there was Maxora. I think the worst run on Ouya NG Plus is still his time. It's like a 157. Like that kind of goes to show the competition at the time just wasn't very good.
Mm.
Yeah, it was literally just me, and then Sounds really kicked things off, and Zen took over. There have been again, Squonk was there for a long time. I think we mentioned Ninja Ratchet. Who also deserves a mention? I'm just gonna go through the names here. NG Plus. This is change it to no QE. I don't know if you talked about no QE and QE.
We haven't really. Do you want to just briefly describe that for me?
It'd be good if you got the guy who found it. Like I think he would be able to describe in more detail what QE actually is. But it's like this PS3 only thing, quit exploit, where you quit out of the game with like a certain number of bolts, and like it's a combination, like a bolt and like time on your save, and it sets a flag, and like depending on like the bolts and whatever, like you can corrupt the stuff in the vendor. And it's essentially like I think people originally started getting this thing where they had like a chicken with like a no symbol on top of it, and yeah, it was just like some random corruption, and then like they found the exploits. Like they like I don't know, I don't even know how they did it, but like they researched it and figured out like certain boat counts and times that you needed to get specific things in the vendor. And the theory was that if you can get the master plan in the vendor, then you can skip like essentially everything, because the master plan gives you VidComic 5, and we'd still need VidComic 1 to do the VidComic skip that I found with the password menu. But once you had VidComic 1 and 5, you could do the skip and go straight to Quirk's Hideout, which is the third last plan in the game. And yeah, I don't know, they just kind of made it come. Like they just figured out a way. I think they also said that VidComics weren't they weren't able to be like manipulated into the vendor, so like you couldn't actually buy VidComic 1 and VidComic 5. Although like I don't know, if there was a way to do that, then the run would be like less than 10 minutes. And this was actually like one of the things that I theorized, like didn't even do any experimenting. It was just like, oh, what if we could somehow dupe the VidComics, get VidComic 1, VidComic 5 on our first visit to the Phoenix, because like Phoenix is essentially the hub in the game, right? Like you go back there several times. And yeah, and like you essentially have access to the VidComic player on your first visit, but you can't actually access it and play a VidComic until you get VidComic 1, which is in Arcadia, which is like you have to go through the whole Ranger mission auto scroller stuff to actually get there. So like if there was a way to dupe those VidComics on your first visit there, do the skip, get VidComic 5, whatever, and go straight to Quirk's Hideout, the run would be like 5-6 minutes. I don't know. That was in my head since like I was in the Skype group back in 2014, and like it's not quite like what I imagined, but I mean it's like essentially there at this point now.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah,
you had the right idea at least. So
I had the idea, yeah, but I definitely did not have the brains. Username, I don't know what they did stuff, but they did some magic, and yeah, it's kind of insane. I don't even know how it works, really. I'd be more interested if it was like 2015 or whatever, but yeah, no, just seeing that, like my crazy idea, and like this isn't the first time that's happened in the Ratchet community either. Like if you want to talk about random skips, like I think Ticeman or someone mentioned potentially using the Walloper back in 2014, which is like just a random, item weapon that you used to punch,
Mhm.
like somehow using the momentum from that and kind of using it to carry yourself through the level faster. And I mean, now it's used all over the place in Rack One
Yep.
because we figured out you can cancel with in-level movement, right? Like there's a whole bunch of ideas, like random ideas that somehow turn out to be true like several years later. It's pretty interesting. But
It's funny
yeah,
how that works.
yeah, I can't describe it more than that. It's just an interesting thing.
Alrighty. Well, I think that we're good to go now.
Yeah, I
So,
think we're good.
alrighty. IN. I keep calling you IN. I think you go by Insomniac nowadays. No in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think most people just call me IN. Like I have Insomniac as my speedrun.com name. I also have Moose because the Chills boys call me Moose.
There you go.
Yeah, no, IN is good.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, I appreciate you talking to me. And let me go ahead and end the recording here.